This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. We are wrapping up Mental Health Awareness Month with tips to keep your mental health thriving. We talk all about mental health on this podcast, specifically actions, different things you can do to cultivate a positive headspace. Today, we are talking about science-backed evidence of things you can do that actually support your brain health.
Yes. And I think something that we really like to talk about is to help you thrive, right? Like, because we're all surviving, right? And we're going through the motions, and I've got 3 kids and I have a lot of moving parts, and I feel like my brain is like sometimes literally on fire, and I need like someone to pour a bucket of water on it. And so I will take any tip to just like help me stop spinning and be able to remember things and feel like I have my shit together.
Yeah, that mental clarity, not needing 5 cups of coffee, whether you're busy on the go with kids, your job, or like me, where you actually had a physical issue that impaired your mental health, your brain health. All right, so through my journey, I've learned so much about the gut-brain axis, which is what we're going to be talking a lot about today. And that really just means that when our gut's off, our head's off, and vice versa, they are connected through this really cool thing called the vagus nerve that I love. And so we are going to get into really how to cultivate that balance, that harmony with not only different strategies like stress management techniques, but sleep tips, supplement tips. We are going to go a real deep dive into how to get your brain thriving.
Yes. And I love that you're bringing up gut health, because it isn't something that I always think about, but what we're finding on TikTok, it's completely blown up, is that people really need Brooke's help. They want to hear her story. They want to know what's worked for her. So she created this gut health starter kit, basically a document that's really helping people. So tell people about like what you're experiencing with your clients and how that's going.
Oh, it's been so amazing. And thank you to everyone for the support who's purchased it, gave me their awesome feedback. Can't thank you enough. It's basically what I wish I had before starting this journey. You know, you look up gut health, there's so much information out there. It's extremely overwhelming, adding stress in return, making your gut even worse. And so it's really a simplified starter kit of the food I recommend, the foods to stay away from, the activities I recommend. There's a 4-week gut plan that talks about different food, what to do with the food, and then also different recipes that I recommend and supplements. So if people want to start taking action, they're kind of confused, they're reading all this information, they're like, just tell me what to do. This is for you. Hippocrates said it best, all disease starts in the gut, and disease and dis-ease, when our body is out of that harmony, that balance, like I mentioned earlier. You think about health, it's all interconnected. And because of that gut-brain axis, when our gut's off, our mental health's off. Our neurotransmitter, serotonin, it's created in the gut. Same thing for our immune system. So it's kind of this idea of why all disease starts in the gut. And it's all interconnected. So Andrew and I talk a lot about our core 4 when it comes to wellness, and that's sleep, exercise, nutrition, stress management. And again, they're all so interconnected. If you're not getting good sleep, you're not going to make good choices when it comes to food, right? Or exercise because you're tired. Same thing with stress management. You're going to have higher cortisol. And so that all affects our mental health, how we feel, our energy. And so when people are making these changes, whether they're clients, people that have bought the guide, they're seeing immediate results because you're shifting your mental health and vice versa.
Yeah. And you know, as Brooke and I coach people, we always like to encourage people to think about like what comes naturally to you first. Like for me, I think if you start with exercise, everything else falls into place. But some people, it's like the last thing. They're like, no, I need to sleep, because if I don't sleep, I'm not going to get up to work out. Or some people, it's like, I have to manage stress. Like if I don't figure out a way to calm everything down, I can't even think about what foods I should be eating. Or, you know, some people, it's starting with nourishing your body with really healthy food. And so I always encourage people to think, you know, we're going to go through a lot of different tips, different things you can try, but kind of think about how to go for that low hanging fruit. Like what feels really easy for me to do that could just give me a little boost, could help me with my day to day, with my energy, and really help me thrive.
Yeah. And if you are a regular listener, you follow us on social media, you know we preach small steps. And that's exactly why. Because think of the snowball effect. You start making these little changes, you're exercising more, you have more energy, you're sleeping better because you're tiring yourself out that way. Then you're making better choices with food. And those small steps, they add up and they give you that momentum. So exercise is something that we love, and we created our fitness platform because of that, because of the mind-body connection. Ivy Unleashed is really focusing on the mindset with these tips, and that body aspect is what we were missing. So we created Move, which has been amazing. And so we want to just shout out all of our Ivy Leaguers on there. They have access to our private Facebook group where we talk about not just exercise, we give recommendations for everything and anything.
With Move, the biggest piece is like showing your body and your mind love. You know, we work out during that time, but we're talking, we're bantering, we're dancing, we're grooving to music. It's all about lifting your spirit, lifting your mood, like getting your day started right with some movement. And Brooke and I love reading studies about like how this actually works, like what actually happens when you're exercising to create the difference here. And so on the Cleveland Clinic's website, they had the 6 pillars of brain health, and they broke this down. And the first one was exercise. And they just provide a ton of research, and the list is endless on all the benefits from exercise, like improving the blood flow to your brain, promoting cardiovascular health in general, reducing inflammation. The American Psychiatric Association recommends exercise as a treatment option for depression. So it's getting to the point where like it's so obvious that this is improving your mental health that it's prescribed to you, which is super powerful if you think about that.
It's the best antidepressant.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, doctors in the functional space that I listen to, their podcasts, you know, Dr. Will Cole, Dr. Mark Hyman, people that I'll get into later in the episode, but they even say that its effects are more powerful than antidepressants because of these natural endorphins that are flowing and the reducing inflammation, which is huge. Like think about your body's on fire, it's inflamed, literal fire in your body, your brain's on fire too. And so when we calm that inflammation, the right nerves are being sent. Again, what we start every Move workout with is getting that spine in alignment so the right nerves can fire. And that's exactly what this is doing too.
Yeah. And I like to think too about those long-term effects, right? Of, you know, what's nice about exercise is it's pretty instantaneous. You know, you get that boost of energy, you feel good about yourself, but the studies also show that increased moderate exercise increases the volume of your hippocampus, and that aids in the formation of a long-term memory. And it's the first area to be affected by Alzheimer's. So if you're scared of Alzheimer's like I am, you know, I'm like, oh, let's do Sudoku, let's do some puzzles. But exercise does the same thing. It's like if you want to stay sharp, you've got to get moving.
Yeah. And exercise your mind. Puzzles are a great way to do that too, which we'll get into.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's just, you know, thinking about movement, you know, we talk a lot about strength training. It's a part of every movement we do because it helps you maintain your independence throughout your life and prevent injuries, right? It's not just about looking toned, looking good, which that comes too, but it's also about, you know, being able to lift the box, you know, being able to lift your luggage, be able to, you know, if you don't have someone around, to be able to do things yourself, you know, because if you don't take care of your body, you don't keep that core strong, like so many people struggle with chronic back pain because they haven't really stayed mobile.
Yeah. And as we age, we lose muscle. It's so important.
Yeah. And along with that, it helps maintain the health of your bones, your muscles, your joints. It controls joint swelling and the pain associated with arthritis. And so when I think about this, like, you know, that's the body, that's not your brain health. But if you are in pain and you're struggling, of course it's going to affect how you feel. So many people get depressed from their chronic health issues. And so one way to prevent that is to stay mobile, stay active. Even if it's moderate, like all of these studies are around moderate exercise. They're not about the vigorous. They're not about running a marathon. They're just about day to day fitting in, you know, somewhere between 10 to 30 minutes of moderate exercise.
Yeah, just get your body moving. Even during the day, going for walks, getting outside, getting fresh air. There's so many healing benefits of nature and grounding yourself, like being outside barefoot, getting the vitamin D from the sun. That helps reduce inflammation too. And one of the biggest things we can do, and what I'm really passionate about, is the food and diet and nutrition piece. And because what we put in our body is information. It is signaling what genes are being turned on, being turned off. Our brain is 60% fat. And so when you think about that, getting healthy fats in the diet is so important. And I was recently listening to a podcast, The Skinny Confidential, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. And Dr. Daryl Jeffrey, he was on there, and he is a gut health expert. And he has a lot of great info, and his Instagram handle is Get Off Your Acid. And then his name, he has 2 separate ones. So he's a lot of great resources. But his whole thing is that there are fats that can kill and there are fats that can heal. And the healing ones are those omega-3s. So thinking fish oil, nuts, seeds, avocado, MCT oil is a super awesome one. And there's also the fats that kill, and these are omega-6s. So things like the refined oil. So making these easy swaps that are in your budget, want to keep in mind accessibility here. Things like canola oil and vegetable oil, switching those to avocado oil, coconut oil,
olive oil.
Yes. So the fats that we consume when our brain is 60% fat, super important. Also thinking about getting our body the nutrients that it needs. So eating whole real foods from the earth versus all these processed foods that just contain a shit ton of sugar. When you think of sugar, it's inflammatory, and that can cause an inflamed stomach and gut, creating some dysbiosis. So basically the good bacteria and the bad bacteria ratio is off. You have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, which is what I had with my issues, can cause a leaky gut, intestinal permeability, which is basically just such an inflamed gut. Your gut lining is just one cell wall thick. And so when we have severe inflammation, what happens is that cell, it almost separates, and you get holes in that gut lining, and then food particles can seep through, toxins, bacteria. And so thinking about the foods that we eat, making sure that they're nourishing the body can be something so helpful for the brain. The mind diet is something that we found that is basically the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet combined. If you've heard of these, they basically lower oxidative stress and inflammation, which typically lead to these chronic diseases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so it's a lot of the foods that Brooke already mentioned. And the biggest one is the omega-3s, right? Mm-hmm. That's what's in both of these diets, where it's, if you can fit in more fish, do it. If you can mm-hmm. throw in an avocado on your salad, do it. And mm-hmm. so thinking of little ways to do this. The olive oil, throwing it on your pasta before you put your sauce on, just like little things, some people, and this is what I've been doing lately, because I want to test it out. I've been taking a shot in the morning of olive oil.
Yes.
So I just heard, if you want to take years off your life and improve your brain health, take a shot of it. But it's all for these omega-3s. Mm-hmm. And something that Brooke and I discovered too is when you're thinking about how else can I add this in, we discovered Purefin CBDA oil, which has been magical.
Yes, it has fish oil in it, and it also has the healing benefits of CBD, but it's CBDA, so it's a pure form of CBD. So I'm sure you've heard all about CBD, but it's just awesome for inflammation, for stress, for sleep. There are so many benefits. We'll link the website because Sierra and her father, Tracy, they have an incredible story of why they started it. Her father's journey with cancer, Tracy, and how much it's made a difference for him. And I started it when I was on my healing journey, and I still take it for those benefits. So definitely want to plug that in there because mm-hmm. it's made such a difference. And supplementation, it is important, but quality is important. So quality food is important, right? Knowing what you're putting in your body. We talk about reading labels, but it's the same thing for meat. If you are able to, getting wild meat, getting those wild fish instead of farm raised, those small things, which again, if it's in your budget, those small shifts are what add up. And quality supplements. So different supplements that we recommend, and we a lot of the functional practitioners, again, that I follow, they recommend. So these are things like ashwagandha, adaptogens are awesome, amino acids, so 5-HTP, holy basil, saffron, lavender, chamomile, ginseng, St. John's wort, magnesium, L-theanine, and medicinal mushrooms like lion's mane, which we have an awesome episode coming up all about medicinal mushrooms, which is going to blow you guys' minds. So stay tuned for that. But these are just a handful of supplements that I've been recommended to for my healing journey, that different doctors like Will Cole, who has a great podcast, same thing with Dr. Mark Hyman. He has a podcast called The Doctor's Pharmacy with an F, because he believes food is medicine. So those are two really awesome ones to check out if this is something that you are interested in learning more of. And then kind of getting back to the food, what do we really recommend eating?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and before I even get into that, I just want to say that I think this can be really overwhelming sometimes. Like, I get overwhelmed by food. I totally do, thinking about, like, especially as a mom and a parent, like what you're putting on your kids' plates. Like, I plated up their meal earlier with this vegetable medley. I don't think any of them took a bite. It's like, it's something I worry about because, like Dr. Mark Hyman, love you and you're brilliant, but he'll talk about like how much you hate sugar and how it's going to kill you. And it just like freaks me out because I love sugar and I love Oreos and I love ice cream and I don't deprive my kids of it. And I think it's important to have a balance, and I don't have any chronic gut issues that have made me like have to stop. And so I just want to acknowledge that, for some people, nutrition can be really overwhelming. And when we had on Maggie Berghoff, she was saying that, you can get consumed by this, but like her sister would make one change a year, right? And one change a year can really make a difference over time. Switching to, like she talked about, like a non-toxic candle, or like switching to olive oil versus canola oil. Like these little things, like you don't have to change everything. Right now, the prices of food is insane. So like getting a small carton of berries, which is a great thing to eat for your mental health and heart health and all of that, it's not really affordable for most people. And so I just want to acknowledge that if food overwhelms you, I get it. I'm with you. And I think, those small tweaks over time is really what you want to aim for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up, because for me, right, I was in debt with medical bills, and then to eat healthy on top of that when I knew it's what I needed. And looking back, I do feel blessed because I'm forced to eat this way if I want to feel good, right? Like you hit a point where something has to change. But what I have found is ways to make it easier on myself, right? So these swaps that I know I can afford, shopping at Aldi or Thrive Market online, they have a program where it's organic and it's shipped to your home. And if you can't afford it, they'll give you a free membership. Like I canceled my account because I got 1 month free and I was like, I can't afford this. And they said, why are you leaving? And I said, I can't afford it. And they said, okay, we have a program for that. Like we want healthy food to be accessible to all. So
that's awesome.
We're not being sponsored by them, but I just love them. So I want to plug it, just Thrive Market. But like Andrew said, these little tweaks that you can find that and you feel comfortable that you're doing something to improve your health, your family's health, whatever that may be. Nothing is too small because, again, it's giving you momentum.
Yeah. So thinking of green leafy veggies, the olive oil we mentioned, the berries, nuts, when you're having bread or pastas or rices, swapping out for the whole grain option. So the brown rice, the whole wheat bread, the whole wheat pasta. Not a huge fan of the whole wheat pasta, but so give or take. Again, fish, beans, poultry, eggs. And then the things to avoid that create the inflammation that Brooke was talking about are the fried foods, the pastries, and the sweets. Cheeses can do it too. And so thinking of, moderation. Knowing like if you love those things, it's fine. You might start to notice though, as you eat healthier, that your body will tell you like, hey, we actually don't like that stuff. Like eating fried food these days, it's like, I know my stomach's gonna get upset. Sometimes it's worth the risk. Sometimes it's not, but I'm really trying to do that like moderation thing. So I don't totally cut things out if I don't have to.
It also shows you the importance of listening to your body, because these things, on paper are healthy, but if you have some gut issues, brown rice is terrible for the gut. It's really hard to digest. And so you have to listen to your body and know what you feel good on, right? If you're eating a donut one morning and then the next morning you're eating berries. Like, listen to your body, right? It's not that simple, just an example. But another reason why this stuff can be very overwhelming, because if you are going through health issues, I think that's the importance of a coach and working with someone, but also being really in tune with your body and that awareness and slowing down to even listen to your body, to how it is feeling. So with that being said, let's get into stress.
Yeah, with stress, like how I de-stress is planning a vacation for something to look forward to, and then really relaxing when I'm on it. Like really trying to be in the moment. I just got back from Myrtle Beach and it was so much fun and so relaxing. And something that I think really helps with that when you're on vacation is that sleep factor. Because like typically, I don't know how everybody else's kids are, but mine are wiped from like the pool days or the beach days or whatever. And so my kids slept amazing the whole time. So we got a lot of sleep. And just that combination of not having a lot of responsibilities and getting a lot of sleep, it does wonders for how you feel, your energy, your mood, all of those things.
Yeah. And for some people, you can't take a vacation, but what you can do is take 5 minutes a day for yourself. And if you don't have 5 minutes, you need to look at your schedule. All right, get up 5 minutes earlier and just calm that nervous system. Your breath is the best free tool you can use. You know, I talk a lot with my gut health clients, and as I'm posting these videos on TikTok and on our social media about the power of the breath and switching into that parasympathetic nervous system. Because what that's doing is it's getting you into that rest or digest state. We are constantly go, 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 go all day, adding stress. Our 2 million-year-old brain, it doesn't know the difference between an alert going off on our phone and a saber-tooth tiger chasing after us. And so we have to be intentional of building this time in our calendar to de-stress, to slow our heart rate down, and also to do things that bring us joy, right? Whether it be vacation, just spending 10 minutes with your child with no phone, or intentionally planning these moments that will bring you joy or relaxation into your day. I know it's made such a difference for me and also has helped my gut because of that gut-brain axis.
Well, and it's like with sleep and stress, it's like what comes first, right? Because if you get enough rest, you can cope with the stressors of your life. But if you also cope with the stressors of your life, you're more likely to be able to fall asleep and to stay asleep. And scientists have started to link longer waking time. So like not going to bed when you should go to bed, you know, with increased risk of a cognitive impairment and a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's. So you may think that you can just function on little sleep, but over time, it really does affect the health of your brain. And not to mention cravings, right? When we get less sleep, when we're more stressed, our brain produces less leptin, which is that hormone, which tells us we're full, and it produces more of the ghrelin hormone, which tells us we're hungry. We want that sugar, those cravings. So think about that too. If you notice when you don't get a lot of sleep, you have more cravings, or when you're more stressed, you want to reach for the sugar, that's why. And it makes sense too, because sugar is easily absorbed in your body. So your body is going, or your mind is going through a lot. It's really stressed. It wants something easy, something that's going to make you feel good, something that's going to be really easy to absorb in your bloodstream. And sugar is the answer to that. So really coping with those stressors any way that you can, and thinking about, you know, throughout my day, how could I pepper in these little things that can really make a difference? And like you mentioned, breath, it's just underestimated so much of how we hold, like the tension we hold, like us, you know, as you're sitting in a meeting, just notice, like, when was the last time I took a deep breath? Like, put yourself on mute, take some big, thorough, deep breaths, and see if that helps you out. Yeah, and the key is a longer exhale. That's going to slow that heart rate down. So simplest breath work technique ever, one I love, I do right before bed, is just a 4x8. All it is you inhale for 4 and you exhale for 8. You can do that 3 times. It's also great to do before you eat to help with digestion, because again, you're getting in that parasympathetic nervous system, that calm, rest, and digest. So try it. Let us know what you think. Yeah. And then just thinking about sleep too, I think it's so important to think about like what happens during that time that's so important, which a lot happens. Like, I don't even know all of the processes that happen. I just know it's a lot. It's a big deal. Right. But researchers found that the space surrounding your brain cells, called the interstitial space, It may increase during sleep, which allows brain to flush out toxins that build up during our waking hours. So you're literally detoxifying yourself, your brain that has all these the plaque buildup from your stress. You're detoxifying your brain by sleeping. And so it is important. You are not lazy if you want sleep. You are not lazy if you prioritize sleep and really make sure that 7 to 8 hours happens, because it is really important for you in the short term, in your day-to-day, and in the long term too.
Yeah. And the scary thing too with that is we can't make up sleep. Like a lot of times, so many people I talk to, and for the longest time I thought this too, like, oh, I'll just sleep more on the weekends. And although it does feel good, but you're not making up for any lost time. So the quicker you can get some more sleep, the better. Mm-hmm. Also acknowledging that you may have little kids, you may have kids that wake you up, you may have
sleep disorder,
multiple jobs. Yeah. So ways you can just help yourself get a little more sleep. Is it shutting off your phone an hour before bed so you don't get that blue light? Is it taking a hot bath before bed?
Is it taking Purefin CBD sleep oil?
Yes, right? Little things you can add in. And I found it so helpful in my journey to, what can I add in to make this fun versus restrict? Same thing for food, right? Because our brain, it wants fun. It wants excitement. If anything seems like work, it's going to say nope, and there's going to be resistance. So tricking your brain, but not even tricking it, doing things that you actually enjoy, like the hot bath, like trying a new tea. Things that you look forward to is going to make this way more enjoyable, and also it's going to make it stick.
Another pillar from the Cleveland Clinic is around mental fitness. So we all know, like we've heard, oh, maybe if I do puzzles or crossword puzzles, that'll make me smarter.
Exercise your brain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when you think about having your brain in tip-top shape, it's just like, I love to think about it just like exercise. Like, how do you get in better shape? You switch things up, right? You take a different way home, like a different path. You try a puzzle you've never done before that really challenges you. Like for me, I hesitate to do board games because I feel like they're kind of like challenging. Like, oh, I have to learn these new rules, but it's actually really good for your brain.
Yeah. What you're doing is you're creating new neural pathways. And that's what we want. We want to challenge the brain. So we get some new neurons firing. We activate it so it doesn't get stuck in the old routine, the old habit. We want it to be challenged while also taking care of it with sleep and rest. So finding that happy balance of things that don't stress you out too much, but just enough to get you thinking.
Yeah. And those things that could include, reading, crossword puzzles, Sudoku, board games, trivia, visualization. Like getting your brain to think of something that feels kind of impossible for you is super exciting to try. Just kind of like, what do you dream about sometimes? But like, how could you make that happen type of thing? Memory exercises, meditation, something we talk about a lot. Really just trying something new for your brain. Just to see like, what am I always thinking these same thoughts? Am I kind of bored of what I'm thinking about? Like, let's
or maybe I think too much. Mm-hmm. And in that case, meditation. And the point of meditation isn't for you to stop thinking. It's for you to, again, get in that calm nervous system. And it's to help with your focus, your clarity, your efficiency. Because what you're doing is it's actually really cool. What it's doing is it's strengthening the myelin between each hemisphere of your brain. So you have your one hemisphere that is the logic, and you have the other hemisphere that's the creativity. And when the myelin in between them is strong, things easily flow back and forth, and you can get in that flow state. So that's what I love about meditation. You will notice that by taking that time, and you can do a guided meditation. You can literally sit and you can meditate on a word, just repeating it in your head. It does take practice, so I recommend starting with a guided meditation. But you'll notice that you feel calm after. You feel like you can run your day and not have your day run you, right? That stress, you bring that stress down. If you have any questions, super passionate about it, and we share all about it in our Move workouts. We do meditations there. We talk about it on all of our social channels. You can reach out with any questions you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and an app that's free that Brooke and I love is called Insight Timer. So you can start with just a few minutes at a time. But it's definitely something like if you think about mental fitness, a lot of people have never meditated.
Yeah. And they can't just sit. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we can't just be, that's a problem. That's one of my biggest problems is like, I can't slow down to just be and enjoy the moment. And a lot of people, I want to be more present. And thinking about being present, it's like building a muscle. And to do that, you meditate, because what you're doing is you're focusing on the breath. And it also helps with anxiety, because what you're doing is thoughts are involuntary, just like the heart beats. And so we can't control what thoughts come in our head, but we can control which thoughts we give meaning to. So what it gets you doing is it gets you really awesome at not attaching meaning to negative thoughts, watching them come and go and just letting them pass. And then I'm supposed to be meditating right now. Okay. And you come back to the breath. And that's when that present muscle is being built, is when you come back and you bring that focus back.
Man, I love when you get talking about the brain, because you get so excited and you know so much about it. It's awesome. All right, there's 2 more pillars of brain health we have left here. And one is about medical health. And it's just, again, one of those things that, like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? It's like you can have these health issues like diabetes and high cholesterol that you get from, eating certain foods or not exercising, those types of things, or you're born with diabetes. That can happen too. But from those chronic issues, you have a higher risk of developing dementia. It's just everything's interconnected. Like the high blood pressure can damage your blood vessels, and that supplies the brain. So it's like thinking about how the flow of blood in your body is affected by the foods that you're eating. The lack of sleep that you're getting can increase your blood pressure. The stress can increase your blood pressure. And so thinking of that, like that does affect your brain too. It's not just your heart. They really are interconnected. And over time, high blood pressure also leads to small hemorrhages or ruptures and other structural changes in your brain. So it actually is changing your brain physically, which is kind of scary to think about, because like blood pressure, like so many people are on blood pressure medication or they're trying to get off of it, and you think of it just affecting your heart. So by not getting outside for a walk, not taking care of your stress, not getting enough sleep, all of these things that we can make these small tweaks with, if we don't incorporate them, we don't think about them, they really affect our long-term health of our brain.
Totally. Again, I want to echo that all of these can seem daunting and overwhelming. And what I recommend the most is pairing it with something that you enjoy doing, right? Like the walks with a family member, a friend, whether it's on the phone or listening to a podcast like Ivy Unleashed, whatever it is that brings you some joy. And that also goes with the social interaction. Like we are social beings. That's why we took such a hit with COVID, because we need to be around each other. We need that social aspect. And so this is the last pillar of brain health. It's social interaction. People with the most social interaction generally experience the slowest rate of memory decline. How wild is that?
Yeah. Well, and something that we talk a lot with our clients is it's important that we always address, who is your support system? Who is encouraging you? Who is supporting you? Who's asking you if you're taking good care of yourself? Because that is the number one indicator of living a long, healthy life. People underestimate that. They think, oh no, I'm my own motivator. I'm my own inspiration. I don't need anybody. I've been independent my whole life. But it's actually really important that you do have someone that's at least checking in on you, not always for accountability, but just there is something about it. People that have a partner live longer. People that have close friendships, people that have more social interaction, they do live a longer, healthier life with less chronic disease, which in turn creates better brain health.
Yeah, and there's so many different things you can do, right? Think about now, luckily, like knock on wood, pandemic is wrapping up and we can get out and do more things and travel again, which is so amazing. And that means we can do things again like volunteer and do physical activities with others, join different interest groups, find support groups online. If there is something you're struggling with, there is a support group for everything. And if there isn't one, make one. And I promise you'll find people that need support in that area. Also, like getting a pet. Think about like emotional support animal. They're real. We are trying to get a puppy around here. And
but yeah, and I was reading a lot of different studies about, people that don't have a lot of social interaction, or they have social anxiety, and like how to even start that. So it's like talking to a pet or journaling your thoughts.
Yes.
Is an exercise of practicing expressing how you feel or what you're interested in, what you're happy about, what you're sad about. It's kind of sometimes people with social anxiety or that kind of feel like they want to keep to themselves, it's hard for them to find the words. And so journaling can be kind of that starting point of getting some of those feelings out or practicing expressing yourself to somebody else.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people with social anxiety, like they really are lonely because they don't have those people that they feel connected to. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't have anyone, well, start with a journal. That's your best friend, and just pour your heart out. It is so healing. And even if you do have people, like, still get your thoughts out. It's such a powerful practice.
And with social interaction, it's a lot of like what we talked about is about like having fun and lightening things up and bringing joy to your life, right? Like that's the whole point of why we're bringing it up. And it is kind of scary to think about like, this is the biggest indicator of living a long, healthy life. You know, it's kind of scary, but there is research behind it. Lisa Berkman, the director of the Harvard Center for Population and Development Studies, she cited many studies that have suggested that social isolation carries a risk of mortality that's similar to the risk factors of smoking, which is wild to think about. Social isolation, like think that you're basically smoking a pack of cigs.
Yeah, that just shows the power of mental health and being isolated and lonely and not having other people for you to feel supported.
Yeah. And I think too, there's something about like, not just support, but really feeling seen.
Yeah.
And like you have someone that you trust, right? Because I think that's a big part of social isolation is, I can interact with people, but like they don't understand me or they don't fully see me or accept me. And that's tough. Like that's a tough place to be. I think it's just, we just want to speak to the urgency of finding that, you know, whether it's a dating app or there's these like friend groups now that you can join, or finding a support group online of someone with a similar interest, something that's like, you think you're quirky or weird about, like it's out there and you can find it, and maybe it is online, maybe it's in person, you know, who knows what it may be for you, but just start thinking about like what you would want to talk to someone about and connect on, and just know it's out there for sure.
Yeah. And also start thinking about like what small changes you could start making today, this month, right? One thing you can do this month that's going to support your brain health. Maybe it's just sticking to your exercise routine. Maybe it's starting every day with a 5-minute meditation. There is no wrong answer. Whatever that low-hanging fruit is, I want to encourage you to experiment with it. Be curious with yourself and tune in with what you need. Andrea and I, as health coaches, and just what we love is providing resources. And so please know that everything we talked about in this episode will be linked in our blog, which is just on our website, goldivyhealthco.com/blog. We'll put other resources in there too, like our social media, if you want to get connected, if you want that support. And as always, therapy, it's a great tool. If you do feel lonely, if you do feel like you are struggling with your mental health, there is help out there. So we'll plug some of those resources in the blog as well.
And Brooke and I are here for you. Like you can shoot us a message. We could be who you start with. We're friendly people. We love getting random DMs. And also if you do go on our social channels, like TikTok that we referred to earlier, we're building a community there where people are bouncing ideas off of each other in the comments, which is so great. Like it's a place to find community and a place to like consistently get tips. Like every day, Brooke and I are providing some type of tip that can support you in your health and your mental health. And so just know we are here for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can find that all social media is just at Gold Ivy Health Co. It's the same for all of them.
Yep. All right, now it's time for our 3 gold stars. Number 1, find a relaxing practice to do before bedtime, like read, take a bath, meditate.
Number 2, hold yourself accountable by scheduling in your workouts, your grocery shopping, time with people you love, and relaxation actually into your calendar to make sure you're making them a priority.
That's right. And number 3, choose one thing to do this month that will help lower the inflammation in your body, like eating more greens, getting more sleep, or connecting with friends more.
Yes. And last but not least, your piece of gold today is from yours truly, Gold Ivy Health Co. And our quote is, nourish your brain through the foods you eat, the moves you make, and the connections you seek.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.